大家好，在第13课，我们要介绍把字句的语法。我们看看我们的生词：一，再说一遍；二，变；三，把。Most of this chapter video will be dedicated to the 把 structure. This is one of the most common and yet confusing structures in Chinese. It's extremely important. And we're just going to kind of scratch the surface of it in this lesson in chapter 15. We will return to ba later on in Chinese too. But this is going to be quite a lengthy video because this is a complex structure, and I'm going to give different examples. I'm going to walk through how to use ba and what ba means. So you can feel free to skip around if you don't want all the details. And if you're confused, please watch. If you have any questions, please watch the whole video. Okay, first of all, 变 is a measure word for complete courses of an action. Now, this is a little confusing because we have learned another measure word for actions called 次. So what's the difference between 变 and 次? Okay, 次is used for times of an action, how many times something has happened. 变 is just used for an occurrence from the beginning of the action to the end. That's a little bit vague. So let's look at an example. 再说一遍. Please say that again. Say that one more time. Right? It's a complete course of action. Could I say 再说一次? In fact, I could. So in that case, the two different measure words for actions are interchangeable. So when do I use 次 and when do I use 变? Let's look at another example. 请你念一遍课文. I could replace 变 with 次 here. However, it would change the meaning. If I say 请念一次课文, I'm not necessarily expecting you to read the entire lesson. But if I say 请你念一遍课文, I'm expecting you to complete that entire action from the beginning to the end. In general, I wouldn't worry about 变 and 次. Just use 次 more, and 变 will come up naturally. For example, in the phrase 请再说一遍, 请再说一遍, which you'll hear often. Now, for the ba structure, notice this is totally different from the measure word ba, like 一把花. I use ba for a long, slender object or a bunch of things. That is nothing related to the ba construction, which is a sentence. And specifically, this sentence uses this structure: subject plus ba plus object plus verb plus other element, usually some kind of complement or preposition. What in the heck does that mean? Here's what ba means. Ba is used to highlight the so-called disposal of an object. Right? So the ba is called you can translate as a disposal structure. Something is happening to an object. So like you can think of something physical. And this physical object is being acted upon. And I'm trying to emphasize that. I'm trying to highlight that in the sentence. And I want to do that with ba by changing around the word order. Let's look at an example. 我把你要的书找到了. Okay, so the object here is 书. And the verb, the action is I'm looking for it. Did I find it? I did. 我找到了. I was able to find that. It's a resultative complement It was a successful, completed action. So what is the point of ba here? Now, if I turn this into a normal subject plus object plus verb sentence, that would be 你要的书我 oh actually it should be 我找到你要的书了. Is this a correct structure? In fact, it is. I could say that. 我 subject. Excuse me, this is a verb. Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. Subject verb object sentence. 我 is a subject. 找 is the verb. 你要的书 is the object. If you want to simplify it, like 我找到书了. And what kind of 书 is it? That's a 你要的书, it's a modifier. In any case, that's a perfectly fine sentence. How do we turn into a 把字句? Well, we have to change the word order. And in fact, we've talked about this before with the so-called topic comment structure. Now, if you remember in a topic comment structure, the object goes first, followed by either the subject, usually, and then the verb. So the verb goes last in a topic comment sentence. All right, this is the big thing with Chinese topic comment sentences, is that you can move and you can shift the verb to the end. We have seen this structure, object, subject, verb, more and more in Chinese too, because a lot of more advanced Chinese structures use this kind of word order. And the 把字句 also uses a word order like this. 你要的书 is the object. It is now in front of the verb. Usually you put the subject first, right? So the subject plus 把 plus object plus verb. But the important thing is the object goes before the verb. That's the critical thing. Why does an object go before a verb? Well, in a topic comment sentence, what you're trying to do is you're trying to emphasize the object. You're trying to make it the central topic of conversation. And this is the exact same rationale for the 把字句. You're trying to emphasize the 把 structure. You're trying to highlight it.
Another way to think about this is, why 把? What is the point of a 把 structure when we already have this perfectly good subject, verb, object structure? The 把 sentence focuses on the result of an action. It's used to highlight what happens to the object. This is called disposal.
The question is, another way to think about this is, why 把? Why use this structure at all when we already have a perfectly good subject, verb, object structure? 把 is used to focus on the result of an action. Right? The 把 here, this character 把 acts as a disposal particle in the structure. It's used to highlight what happens to the object. This is what disposal means. Something happened to the object and it was affected. You're trying to really put what happened to the object in the center of the meaning of the sentence. And how do you put it in the central place? You put it first. Generally speaking, we use 把 to talk about things being put into places. Right? So the object would be the thing and it's being moved to somewhere. We also use 把 to talk about things being changed. We also use 把 to talk about things being finished or used up. Generally speaking, you can use 把 in a very wide variety of cases. If you look at these different examples, this could apply to many, many, many different kinds of actions and objects. That's why the 把 structure is so important in Chinese, because it's used all the time in many different situations. All right, so let's look at some more examples of 把, and we can kind of go into some of the details of the actual 把 structure. Let's look at this one. 你把这个字 写错. All right, so the object is this word or this character. The verb is 写, and then you, this character, 你把, you 把 this character wrote wrong. All right, so the resultative complement 错 here serves as the other element. What does that mean, other element? Well, if you look at the 把 construction, subject, 把, object, verb, there must be an other element that follows the verb. Generally speaking, what follows verbs are usually objects. Of course, the object is in front of the verb in the 把 structure, so something else must follow a verb. You cannot just leave the verb by itself in a 把 structure. There must be some other kind of either complement or prepositional phrase. What's the reason? Well, because the whole point of the 把 structure is to talk about what happened to the object. So it's not enough just to say there was an action done to the object. You have to explain what happened next. What was the result of that action? So with this structure, or with this sentence, 你把这个字写, you wrote the character and then, well, how was the object disposed of? What happened? The result, using the resultative complement, 错, is that it was written wrong. Let's look at another example. 请把那条裤子给我. So here we have you, implied you, this pair of pants are giving to me. This is an indirect object. 你把这篇课文看看. So you're looking at, you, this text are looking at. Here we have a so-called reduplicated verb, 看看. So this also can serve as the so-called other element. 把这杯咖啡喝了. This cup of coffee, drink it. The 了 here, the 了 particle also serves as the other element. So it could be anything, really. This is wrong. You cannot have a naked verb at the end of a 把 sentence. You must add something after it, whether it's indirect object, a 了 particle, a complement, etc. Let's look at another example. 你怎么把女朋友的生日忘了? So you, 把 your girlfriend's birthday, forgot 了, the other element. Let's compare these two sentences. 老王给了小张一些钱. What structure is this? Very typical subject, verb, object structure. Then we have 老王把钱给小张了. We turn the subject, verb, object structure into a 把 structure. These are essentially the exact same. The difference is in the 把 structure. Again, what is being emphasized in the sentence is what's happening to the money. That's why it's coming first. So in a lot of cases, the subject, verb, object sentence is interchangeable with 把. However, not always. If the subject of it, this is a little complicated, but bear with me. If the subject of a sentence is given and the object is something known, and the verb is followed by a prepositional phrase with 在 or 到, the sentence must appear in the 把 construction. What does this mean? Generally speaking, when you're trying to move objects around, you're physically moving things into different locations, you must use the 把 structure. This sentence here on the left is the only correct way to say put the pen on the desk. 你把笔放在桌子上. You must use 把 here with these prepositional phrases of physically moving around objects. Let's look at one more example. Again, the 把 structure on the left is the only correct way to say this sentence. This subject verb object structure here is wrong. 请你把这封信送到 we have the 到 here to a certain place 送到律师的办公室 Again, you're physically moving the letter to another location. 好，这是我们今天的语法点。这也是我们第15单元的最后一节课。谢谢大家观众朋友们的收听。